Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. This is Forged from Iron. Welcome to the big debate. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'll put me there. Hang on. There we go. I'll have the judge's seat. Right. Okay. Welcome. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms, and subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts and new content. We thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for the big debate. As you can see, we have an eclectic mix of West Ham fans, and we'll get straight into the introduction. So first things first, would you like to introduce yourself, Mr. Nick Killington?
Hello, everyone. I'm Nick Killington. I'm from a YouTube channel called Claret Booze, and I'm very happy to be on the show.
And we're very happy to have you, Nick. And also out of the blocks, Charlie, give yourself an introduction, mate.
Well, you just give me a name. So Charlie, no channel to plug, just an opinionated fan who fancies himself as a football manager on the PC, obviously.
Of course. And next out of the gate, familiar face or maybe not.
I love the intro. I'll tell you what, I might use Zippy as my feature thing. No, I'm Steve 50. I've been a West Ham fan all my life, over 50 years. I've been lucky enough to see us win the cup final a couple of times. And I'm delighted to be on the show tonight to I'll talk about the issues we're facing as a club. Thank you, Gatesy.
And coming in as an 11th hour substitute, you might recognise this fella.
Hi, I'm Budgie from Greenstreet Elites, a.k.a. the Fake Duke. Yeah, like Steve, I've seen a couple of FA Cup wins and European success as well. Being an old fart like I am, happy to be on the show. Thanks for the invite.
All I've really got is a Betway Cup or two. It's ridiculous. Anyway, right, guys, you watching in the live chat, if you've got any questions for the panel, please put a Q in it at the start. I can't promise I'm going to get through everything. I've got plenty of video questions. We're going to run this for about an hour, so I'll get through as much as I can. But if you get a question in, put a Q at the start. It's easier for me to find. So, gentlemen, we have a contribution in the video section of the channel, and let's get it out the way. Courtesy of Fritz.
Hello, fellow Hammers fans. I'm here again this week to ask a question on behalf of my son, who wants to know from the panel whether GSB were right to move us from the bowling to the London Stadium. Now, he'd like you to consider 3 aspects: fiscally, quality of the team, and the diversity of the fan base. Are we a better West Ham? Now, I've got some quick comments myself. I think that if you look at the 6 years before our move and the 6 years after our move, we certainly have a better average attendance. It's gone up by more than 12,000 a year. We did have a mini blip in 2020-21 when we only had an average gate of around about 600 odd fans. So including that, we have an average of better than 12,000, which is better than 4 of the championship teams in Wigan, Luton, Blackpool, and I think it's Rotherham United. There we go. If we look at the team, then I think that having the stadium we've got now attracts more quality players. I think players are motivated by playing in big arenas. And if you look at our average finishes, then before we moved, we were finishing roughly in 14th place, and that includes the season we were in the championship. And since the move, we've been finishing in average 10th to 11th. So that's definitely improvement. As for the fan base, well, I certainly notice a more diverse fan base. And I think that in part is due to the fact that the games are more affordable and the stadium is in a more accessible place to get to. I don't know, I could be wrong, but what about your comments? Thank you, guys.
Who should we go to first? I'll tell you what, Nick, I'll let you take this one, mate. So he's asking the question, has the move to London Stadium benefited us fiscally in terms of the team and in terms of increased diversity of fans?
Depends what you're looking for. My answer would be no. I've not really sort of gone into this too much on the channel, and I've always been against this stadium. I have. Even my sons, my 2 boys. I mean, Ben's 14. He only had sort of 3 seasons at Upton Park, but he's never been able to warm to this place either. It's not the same. It's not the same. It will never be the same. Look, it's a world-class stadium, maybe, and it's a world-class stadium that needs it needs a world-class team, because I think the difference now is the dynamic has now changed. When you're at Upton Park, you felt like you was the 12th man. You felt like, you know, your input, you could really affect the outcome of the game. None more so than the last game against Man United. You know, in 15-16, we sucked that ball into the net, didn't we? I don't think that you could really. There have been some great nights at the London Stadium, but it isn't the same. It will never be the same. I think you'll struggle to find anybody. Well, not anyone. Obviously, there's going to be some, but the majority of people that experienced Upton Park and that were season ticket holders at Upton Park will all be of the same opinion. It doesn't compare. It won't compare. In terms of attracting a better level of player, I've still not seen any better football played in the 6 years or so that we've been here than I did in 15-16. I've still not sseen a better player than Dimitri Payet, who we attracted at Upton Park. No. I really, and the way that we did it probably didn't help. You know, I think Troger's put in the chat the way that we was moved to the ground. You know, the method of migrating old supporters was just disgusting. Everything about it left a bad taste in the mouth. But the fact is that stadium is not fit for a team like West Ham. I don't think it's not. It's like a theatre. You're going to watch a show, and let's be honest, at the moment it's a shit show. And what that means is you've got the team on the pitch have to lift the fans. Yep. That's the way that dynamic works. The team on the pitch have to lift the fans, not the other way around. And that's why, you've got 60-odd thousand supporters in there, but fuck me, it's quiet. It's quiet most of the time, and probably not helped by the style of football. But no, I don't think. I mean, you can't argue that it hasn't helped us financially because we've just had our most lucrative year. But that's off the back of the Europa. That's off the back of that. And there's more TV money now, so you can't really compare it. We could have done the same. I mean, we've got a bigger capacity now, but the average price has come down. So I don't really know quite how that evens out. No, for me, and I know everyone watching this and probably going, "Oh no, it's a negative Nelly." If you ask him a question, it's always going to be that way. No, it is home now. We can't go back.
Yeah.
But my heart will forever be broken, and I've been that much more miserable since we left Upton Park, and I've never quite recovered.
Fair. We'll move the spotlight onto you, Charlie. What's your thoughts on what Fritz had to say?
I think it's an interesting question because I think my instant answer was exactly what I think Hammer put in the chat, just a straight no. But I think there's a bit more nuance to the question than that. And going on the bits that Fritz was talking about, these areas, sort of finance, as Nick said, I'm not sure our income has gone up that much, given that we don't get any of the food and drink sales or anything around the concourse. Season ticket prices have almost gone through the floor, and they give away whatever it is, 100,000 tickets a year. So I'm not sure the income from the stadium necessarily has gone up. But was it a right idea to move us and move to a bigger stadium if it was done right? Possibly. And I think that's where the question is interesting in terms of, were they right with the idea? Maybe. If it was done right, and we all know we experienced it 10 years ago or whatever it was now, it was done horribly wrong. There's been small improvements over the years, but I think Nick said it as well, it's a world-class arena. It's not a world-class football stadium. It's not fit for football. We'll go to away grounds in Europe and away grounds across the country, and there's not any grounds worse, really, for football. In terms of the team, I don't think there's much difference in the team compared to now compared to the last 10, 20 years I've been watching West Ham. We have one bad season where we go down in every decade. We might be on track for that this season. We'll see. But we have good seasons. We have bad seasons. I don't think there's been any major investment in the team, more so than previously. And the fan base, there's good bits. It's obviously good to have a bit more diversity in the fan base, new people coming in to the ground, watching the team, new eyes on the club. But then you end up with the opposite point of view, is every game pretty much you see an Arsenal shirt or a Man United shirt in home end, and that's when we're playing Southampton.
Don't get me started on that, Charlie.
I knew that would kick you off.
Yeah, I'm meant to be impartial here.
Yeah, the move was done terribly. The atmosphere is dreadful. We can probably all count on one hand the amount of good atmospheres we've witnessed in that stadium. Seville is obviously probably number one. Sevilla, I should say. But so there has been good nights. There is a possibility that there could be more good nights, and I hope there is. But yeah, could you imagine that stadium in the Championship? I don't think it'd affect the club as much as people would potentially suggest, but that stadium in the Championship would be horrendous. So were they right with the idea? Probably, yeah. I think we did need to either expand Upton Park, and I know there's a debate over whether that was possible or not. We needed a bigger ground if we was going to move forward. It was just done terribly, and there's been small improvements over the last few years, but it'll never be the same until maybe one day someone with very deep pockets comes in, knocks the place down, and builds a proper football stadium like those. I was going to say something I probably don't want on camera then. That team in white up in North London. Unfortunately, it hurts me to say, but they probably have the best stadium in the league, and that's how you do a stadium move right. And ours was not done right.
It's a football stadium for a start.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's not an arena.
That's the thing. It's a you said it earlier, Nick. It's a world-class stadium, but it's not a world-class football stadium, and therein lies the difference. Okay, so it's Steve. Over to you, mate. What's your thoughts on what Fritz was asking?
Well, I'm going to be the odd one out here because I quite like the new stadium.
Okay.
Not the odd one out, mate.
Pardon?
Ooh.
Sorry, I said not the odd one out. I like it as well.
Yeah. I mean, I had season ticket at Upton Park back in the 70s with my dad. And, the place rocked. There's no two ways about it. And every time I went to Upton Park, it absolutely rocked. But for what we got the stadium for, and the potential of what we could potentially do with it long term, it was no brainer. The cost of that stadium to us is negligible in terms of our overall income. Has it benefited us fiscally? I don't know. I haven't seen the accounts. I cannot say. I'd have to look at the numbers. You would assume it has, but who knows? While we don't own it, we're always going to be limited with the revenue we can get off it. In terms of quality of the team, well, that's an interesting one. We've had some great players at Upton Park. We had Pyatt. We've had, going back to my day, we've had Brooking. We've had Devonshire. Yeah, I've seen all the greats of the 70s play. But is the team better now? Hard to say, because it's a very different type of football now. It's far more international. I remember when Clyde Best came over and started playing for West Ham, that was a big thing. Nowadays, we've got the United Nations on the pitch for us, and I think that's a good thing. So I think it's quite hard to compare teams in different eras. But I will say this, we've got Italy's number 9 and Brazil, and a starter for Brazil in our midfield. And you go back to the days when I was at Upton Park, you never dreamt of that. You know, you'd never dream of signing players like that. And we've got a World Cup winning goalkeeper. Diversity of fans. Yeah, there's a wider range of fans. I absolutely take the point that we get non-supporters in the home end, and that frustrates me as much as it frustrates Gatesy and other people. But yeah, we have got more people there. We've got different people there. The cost has made the access to young people that much easier. I mean, my son's off to university in September, but I'm going to keep his season ticket going because it's affordable and he can come back and watch games at the weekend when he's home for the weekend. And when he's not home for the weekend, someone like Duke can have the ticket and come with me and see it. So, yeah, I think it's helped the fan base. I think it will bring through a new generation of fan. And let's face it, in 50 years' time, the bowling won't be a memory. It will be part of our history. And the comparison won't be there anymore. So, yeah, I thoroughly like the stadium. I think it was a good move. And to answer Fritz's questions, some I don't know, others I'd say, yeah, that's happened.
Fair. And last but not least, Budgie, spotlight's on you, my friend. You said earlier you're in agreement with Steve, it seems.
Well, on some of the issues, on some of the points, yeah, and I'm in agreement with Nick and Charlie and Steve. Yeah. Anyway, I agree with a lot of the points, with a lot of that have been made already. But for example, Steve made a good point that the stadium costs and that are negligible now. When we were at Upton Park, the entire cost of running that stadium was down to us. Not a case anymore. And some people might not agree with me, and many people won't. But I think that's a great thing for the club because it enabled us to spend 180 plus million in the last 2 windows. So there are pros and cons to all of it. But moving from the bowling to the London Stadium, has it affected or benefited us? I believe it has. I believe that, we're able to attract better players. We're able to attract probably a better manager now. We've had a couple of years in Europe. We haven't had that, not 2 years running. We've not had that in our history. So, obviously it's made an impact on the way we play the game. Okay, the manager's had a lot to do with that, but so have the players that we've brought in. So, in terms of quality of the team as well, I believe that it's benefited us by moving. Listen, don't get me wrong. Back in the day, I loved the bowling stadium. I loved it. And I went there regularly. I stopped going in about 86 due to financial and family reasons. And the reason I like the stadium that we're at now so much is because there were so many years in which I didn't go to any games. My first experience of modern football was at our new stadium. So, you know, it felt very modern. It felt very apt to me at the time. Yes, I don't like the fact that we're half a mile away from the actual pitch, but hey, you know, we take the rough with the smooth as far as I'm concerned. You know, who else in the country can say they, you know, play in the Olympic Stadium? No one. You know.
Would anybody want to? Let's be honest. Let's put that point.
Well, Tottenham were looking to move in there, weren't they, originally?
Do you think that
we had a big fight with them over it?
Do you think, though, that was a bargaining chip by Daniel Levy to get the planning permission for the stadium that they've now got?
Well, it's taken him 6 or 8 years to implement it, so yeah, could be.
That's a long game.
But what if he'd won the bid and Spurs were at that stadium now?
It would have been totally different.
Completely, yes. The money would have been spent on it.
They would have got the running track gone. They wanted to knock it down. They wanted to knock it down totally, so they wouldn't have had the London Stadium as we know it. They would have had a Tottenham Stadium, new White Hart Lane style stadium in Stratford, which probably
they couldn't have got rid of the running track, could they? Because of the Olympic legacy.
That's why they didn't win the bid. Their plan was to knock it down and build a stadium.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know?
And I think West Ham faithful made a very good point in the chat. I think it would have been a lot better. We would have been a lot better with that stadium today had Daniel Levy and that prick Barry Fry not get involved. Barry Hearn, Barry Fry. He's a prick and all. Both pricks. Barry Hearn and Daniel Levy are a massive cause for that stadium not being being the least successful migration in history is the opposite to Karen Brady's statement. Daniel Levy and Barry Hearn are a massive part to play in that because they stopped us owning that stadium outright, which we had already won the bid to do. We'd already owned, we was in the process of doing the paperwork to own the stadium, and then we ended up with a rented council house, as every home fan section like to sing every week at us when we're away.
But I think many people have mentioned in the chat, and this is the other thing as well, because we talk about atmospheres, and even if you go back to probably the best nights or the best night in there, Sevilla and some others as well, listen, the acoustics in that place are a mess. They're an absolute mess. You will rarely get synchronized singing. It sounds synchronized where you are, but it isn't, because the way that sound naturally travels around such a vast arena, it just does not work. So what you end up with is just a load of noise. So you're never going to get that. It's vast. Do you know what I mean? It's huge. And the other thing as well, I don't think it's any coincidence that we flourished in that period when COVID hit, because I'm going to say it now, I think we've got a lesser home advantage to most other teams. I do. I think we have. I think it's a lovely stadium to come away to for the away team. It's like coming away for Butlins for the weekend. You know, it ain't like pulling in the coach at Upton Park, is it?
No.
It's they're chauffeured in via a different entrance. You know, they're miles away from anything. They've got amazing facilities, and the fans just take the piss out of us, the away support. You know, because they're all they're all together and we're all apart. We're disparate, you know. We're all over the place, and it's very difficult to get any continuity going. And that's another reason why it's shit. And I don't think they're going to be able to fix it. It's just too big.
Well, I was at Derby in the week, and they were singing "We Pay for Your Council House."
Well, I know.
Everyone takes a piss out of us, even those people with fiver in the bank in League One.
You're not West Ham anymore is another favourite of the opposition fans. It's not good.
I think if we get new owners, which I'm really hoping we do, because that's the rumour, isn't it? I think we'll see big changes then, because I can't imagine a new owner wanting to come in and leaving it as it is. At the moment, we're run by enthusiasts. We're not run by professionals. Once you get somebody who's got a professional focus on it, I think it might all change quicker than we anticipate. But while we've got David Sullivan there, it's going to be the same old, because he won't do it. He doesn't get it at that level.
No, my preference would be somebody buy us, build us a fucking stadium up the A13 somewhere and sell that one to developers. I wouldn't be heartbroken if they'd done that.
Yeah.
Not like I was at Upton Park.
True.
Well, we can't buy the stadium, from what I understand, if I've understood it correctly, because it's a government asset. We can't just sort of walk up to the Prime Minister or the Mayor of London or whoever makes the decision and go, "Here's a load of cash. We'll take that stadium." From what I understand, it has to legally go out to a tender process.
Yeah, I think eventually, though, we all know it's going to get handed to us on the plate if we want it, because it's such a drain on the taxpayer. They can't justify keeping it. Not really.
No one else is going to want
Not
it
in the
now,
long
are they?
term.
It's losing millions a year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hemorrhaging money.
Yeah, it's the only stadium that runs at a loss regularly every week, or every event that's held in it, it runs at a loss every game.
Just to finish off the stadium question, I will say one nice thing about it. It's bloody easy to get to in it, Gatesy.
That's the one thing that is far superior to Upton Park, is the transport links are far better than getting to Upton Park. But that's probably the one thing I can say that definitely I can sit here and go, yeah, that's an absolute win for the London Stadium. But other than that, yeah, I'd love to have Upton Park back, but sadly that has gone. And we've got another question here. Now, this one I put on the YouTube channel, and he's actually in the chat last I looked. Mickey Smith, I said I'd use your question. And, the funny thing is, before we get into this, Mickey is actually a pupil of the guy who just asked that previous question, Fritz. They crossed paths on the show last week. It was quite funny, sort of like, he's like, "Are you my teacher?" And he was like, "Yeah, I am." It's like nuts, but there you go. We'll start with you, Charlie. Mickey asks, if there's discontent at the club, like it looks like there is, who or what is to blame for this, and why is nothing happening to make this right?
That's a big question. I don't want to put a lot of it down to luck, but I think there is a portion that we started the season badly, and it's been a spiral of shitness since then. Obviously, we had that Forest game. I think we started the season to City, didn't we? So it started on a bad foot and then just continuously managed to get worse. I, like most people in the chat probably, and around the West Ham fan base, have now sort of had enough with the manager. As you guys know, I was at that point, well, back in December, let alone the last few weeks. But I think he's gone stale. I think he's playing the same tactics he's played for the last 2 years. And surprise, surprise, people have sort of got wise to it. He needs to adapt, and I don't know if he's capable of adapting, to be totally honest. So I think there's many little reasons rather than any big reason. I've seen comments on social media and in chats and stuff the last few weeks that I think the players are not playing for Moyes. I don't really believe any of that. I'm at most of the games and the players look like they're determined. They look like they're playing for the manager. They're trying to win. They're giving their all, but for whatever reason, they're just not performing the way they were last year. And I think a lot of that is down to tactics. We are boring to watch, but we was boring to watch last year. We was boring to watch the year before. We was just winning, so it was more enjoyable. Those boring tactics are now not working, and therefore it's double boring. Ultimately, the manager is responsible for the form and the team's performance. And maybe it's a stretch to say he's turning it around a little bit. I think the next 3 games will be a massive indication as to whether David Moyes sees out the season. If we get four plus points in the next 3 games, I think David Moyes sees out the season. I don't think we'll go down. I think this season's almost going to go down to being, we'll get to March, April, May, and we'll sort of be writing the league off saying, right, we're not going down. Let's focus on some cups. Let's win a trophy, for fuck's sake. Are we supposed to swear on this show?
It's got
Let's
9
win a
o'clock.
trophy.
You can do what you fucking like.
Lovely. Cheers. Fuck the league. Let's win a trophy. I don't think we'll go down. And if we win a trophy, everyone will be over the moon. So let's hope that it changes.
What about you, Steve?
Can you just remind me what the question was again? Because
It's on the
If
screen,
there's-
mate.
If there's
Oh,
discontent
right,
at the club,
okay.
like it looks like there is, who or what's to blame for this, and why is nothing happening to make it right?
Right, if there's discontent at the club rather than the fan base is how I read it.
Yeah.
Okay, why is there discontent at the club? Dead easy. A positive working environment, people pulling in the same direction, comes from the person at the top being strong, taking control, and giving a clear vision of where you're going. And I think that really comes down to Sullivan being inept. I mean, I've got nothing against the bloke. He's been very successful. But what he needs to do is actually take some strong leadership. It's evident, for instance, that Moyes isn't cutting it this season for whatever reason, but he insists on keeping him in post. From what I've read, the players are fed up with the tactics they're having to play. It's taking the enjoyment out of the game was one thing I read. Right, so where does that come back to? That comes back to Moyes. That comes back to Sullivan not taking the appropriate action. I think the atmosphere around the club and the discontent is caused, starts at boardroom level and filters down. If you do something proactive, then things will change. But if you want it to change, you've got to do something. If you leave it as it is, you're going to have these problems. And the only person who can actually change the core, if you like, the manager and the attitude and everything else, is Sullivan. And he needs to act. But he won't, because it comes down to money. I've thought this all season. Sullivan, I'm almost certain they're going to sell. Okay, he's going to sell. All he's worried about is keeping us in the Premier League so he gets top dollar. And he'll do it as cheaply as he possibly can. It was fairly clear we needed a fullback in the transfer window. Didn't get one. Why? Cost money. He won't want to sack Moyes because that costs money. He's running West Ham for a different reason than success on the pitch now. He's running West Ham so he can take his profit and walk away. And the discontent starts with Sullivan doing absolutely nothing and not running it properly. Sort that out, sort your ownership out, and you'll sort a lot of the problems out of the club. Sullivan is, as I said before, is an enthusiast. He's not a professional at running a football club. You get a professional in the club running it. Moyes would have gone before the World Cup and things would be sorted. We wouldn't be losing young players hand over fist. And that's where we are in it. That's my opinion.
Fair. Over to you, Budgie. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with some of that as well, Steve. You know, I was going to say exactly the same thing. You know, he's just hovering above, you know, spending anything. You know, he's kind of showing some. I mean, okay, the transfer window is really out of his control. He has to do that to keep the club successful. So he has to spend that money, but he doesn't have to sack David Moyes and give him his 7 million or whatever it is he has to give him. And then he doesn't have to spend another 8 or 5 or 7 or 12 or whatever million it is to get another manager in place. Because simply replacing him with someone like Warburton or whatever just isn't going to work. That isn't going to keep us in the Premier League this season. And neither is David Moyes. But I think we're stuck with him until the end of the season. So therefore, I'm really, really, really disappointed to say that I think we will probably slide out of this league this season because David Moyes won't get sacked. You know,
Big call there, Budge. How about yourself, Nick?
How long have you got?
As long as you want, mate.
All right, I'll try and I've been biting my lip. Okay, David Sullivan, you call him an enthusiast. I call him a wanker, to be quite honest. That's what he is. I'll start with. I'll get to who's ultimately to blame in a minute. David Moyes. I've been Moyes out now for longer than I've announced, and I announced I was Moyes out after the first Everton game this season, when we lost after Game 5, because it was going to shit at the tail end of last season. As we alluded to earlier on, the football's been poor for a while. It weren't working. It was failing. The tail end of last season, yes, it was a success. We got to 7th, but we should have actually done better. We should have, It all goes back to that January transfer window. That will never not burn me. You get rare opportunities in football when you're a club like West Ham to actually push on. We were fourth in the league at the time coming into that January transfer window. We had all of those. We had Oggy and Zuma had just got injured. We had one striker in Antonio. We was smashing it in the Europa. That was David Moyes' opportunity to have his best season ever as a manager, bar none. He could have won a trophy. This is why he's never won a fucking trophy, by the way. He could have won a trophy and we would have got top 4. Because if you look back to the last 7 games, we won 1 game in the last 7 games of that Premier League. And that was against Norwich. So it all stems back to that. I can't, and that is why it didn't take much time for me to flip. Now David Moyes did admit coming into the summer, my style isn't working, and Rob Newman said the same thing. We've got to look for different types of players. We've got to play a different type of football. The minute he said that, I thought he's got to go. And then when we spent 180 million, because David Moyes can't become Pep Guardiola. It's not that easy. It's not that simple. And going back to the transfer deadline day show, where people will look at the likes of me, all of us on this panel, go, you're not in football. You're not this. You're not that. Anton Ferdinand, who is a very recently retired ex-West Ham player, echoed exactly what I've been saying and what most people have been saying that have been Moyes out all along. And that is, if you look at David Moyes' relative success for Everton, and you look at that in parallel with the relative success of West Ham in the past 2 years, tactically, the lineup, player for player on the pitch, they're like carbon fucking copies. He ain't changed. He can't change. He stumbled on something that worked. But the difference is the Premier League is different now. People play different football now. He got found out double quick. And Anton Ferdinand, who is Moyes out, he basically said on that show, he said, the reason I'm Moyes out in a technical fashion is because David Moyes has gone out and bought flair players. He can't coach flair players. He can't coach a flair game. It's very simple. So what we've got a load of posh, fancy ingredients. This is an analogy that I've used before. We're going to open a gaucho grill. We've gone out, we bought the best steak in the world, and we're going to got a fucking chef from KFC. That's what we've got. It is never gonna fucking work. And what makes me absolutely sick to my stomach is that there is not one other manager that could have had the last 13 months, discard the semi-final, in the league, the last 13 months that David Moyes has had, that he shoveled out. That's even forgetting 180 million that he spent, or 190 with Danny Ings. No one else could have survived what he survived. And that fucking bloke, Sullivan, he's let that golden opportunity go before the World Cup, where we could have gone out and we could have gone that manager that you was referring to, Budgie, where you say we're in a better stadium, we can go and get a better manager now. Well, we ain't going to get a better fucking manager because we've got an idiot. We've still got the same idiot chairman. That was his opportunity. Yep. If you want to get a Bielsa, you go out and you get him then, and that allows him to because you can't get Bielsa now. He'll definitely relegate us. But you give him 6 weeks in that World Cup break, he implements his philosophy, bang, he's gone, he's off, we're okay. So you let that go. He gets his second opportunity before the transfer window. He lets that ride out. Nothing's fucking changed. So Moyes is fucking useless for what we need at the moment. I'm not discarding what he did in those years, but for what we need him for now, he's about as much use as a fucking chocolate teapot. It ain't going to work. And the fact that David Sullivan has stuck with him, and now he's putting out messages. He's putting out messages now via Claret and Hugh. Now he's throwing Moyes under the bus, saying, "Oh, we did have money to spend. We did offer him loans. We offered him this. We offered him that." Because that's why Sullivan likes David Moyes, because David Moyes is a puppet, is his firewall. People hate on Moyes and they don't hate on Sullivan so much. That's what happens. But you know what? That firewall's gone. I don't give a fuck anymore about David Moyes. I know my opinion of David Moyes is what it is. I'm astounded that he's still here. So when basically what I'm saying is every mistake that David Moyes makes now, it's Sullivan's mistake. That is Sullivan's mistake now. The fact that he's still here, I don't care if he's turned any players down. They're basically admitting that he's useless at the job. We've got all these youth players going out. I mean, why have we authorised for a manager that's skating on thin ice? Why have we authorised the likes of Ekwa, Ashby, and all these players to go? Longello. And then they come out and David Moyes says, "Oh, Ashby, we offered him everything, we offered." No, you fucking didn't offer him what he wanted. A 21-year-old player wants to play football. We've been talking about that kid for ages. He's way better than anything that we had, and people are calling him a greedy bastard now that he's going after money. No, he ain't. He's going there because he's playing understudy to Kieran Trippier, not fucking Soufal, Johnson and Kehrer when he feels like it. Because they're the three players that were in front of him. That's how hard it is to get into our team if you're a kid. It makes me fucking sick that he's gone from hero to below a zero for me, Moyes, and Sullivan is worse. So I fail to see how there can't be unrest in that setup. The tactics are shit. They've not been working for ages. But no, look, that's it for me. Anyway, I'll stop ranting. Sorry about that.
No, I think you articulated yourself very well, and pretty much everybody in the live chat, mate, said you're bang on the money. So don't
I was nodding and agreeing. So yeah,
it's all good. So. Right, we have a contribution from Hammer89. Now, it's directed at Nick, so I'll throw it out to you first, Nick, but we will get everybody's thoughts on this question. Hammer89 asks you, Nick, what are your thoughts on the lack of signings in January, and will Moyes be gone this month?
The lack of signings in January, if you could have offered me David Moyes sacked or Haaland up front, I'd have taken David Moyes sacked. I didn't give a shit about the players that we were bringing in because it does not matter. I didn't expect David Sullivan to even give him ings. I wouldn't have given him another penny. So because we've not on our channel, we've not really covered transfers at all. I've just not been buying it. I thought there's no way they're going to give him any money. And so it's played out. It isn't because there isn't money. We could have gone out. We could have got loans. But no. And the question, will Moyes be gone this month? Mate, I just can't answer it. I don't know. I really don't know. I think now, because there is no logic, what you do is you try and apply logic to this situation, which is inexplicable. You sit there and you think, why are they doing this? What's going on? And you start coming up with conspiracy theories like, oh, they're selling off the assets. They're doing this and they're doing that. No, they're not. They're just fucking useless. They're running it game by game. David Moyes could lose because they've got this, what is it, a 7-game rule, an 8-game rule? Apparently, he can lose 7 games. If he wins his 8th, it's all right. It's fine. They'll probably ignore where we are in the league. They'll ignore who we've beat this year. They'll look at it as a round stat and go, do you know what? We'll play 5 games this year. We've won 3. We've drawn 1. Moyes is turning it around. He's turning it around. Ignoring the fact that we've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Tottenham in the next 3 games. Nailed on fucking defeats. I don't care what anyone says. They are. It can happen. It's a funny old game, but it's rarely funny with West Ham at the moment. We lose them. We go up against Nottingham Forest, probably in the bottom 3, lucky to not be bottom. And then you've got a must-win game that David Moyes does seem to win. You know the ones when he's got to save his job, the fucker wins them, doesn't he? He's got that must-win game. But at some point, he'll lose one. And if he loses that, we're on 24 games. We could be rock bottom with the likes of Man City, Arsenal coming up next. Then you've got a separation in the fucking league. Then you're looking at what a bottom 5 that we're part of. Everyone else is invested. And this is still here. So you're asking me, will Moyes be gone this month? I don't know. He shouldn't still be here. My blood pressure's monitor's beeping. Hang on. It's not.
Over to you, Budge.
Well, in answer to the question, I suppose my thoughts on January signings. Well, I've always liked Danny Ings. I have to admit that. Yes, he's an accident waiting for somewhere to happen. He's injury prone, but I like him. He's a great player. He can always produce the good when he's playing. The fact that he's the only signing in January doesn't surprise me. Could have done with a left back, could have done with a centre back or 2. But, nothing surprises me. We're not good. Yeah, and we're not going to get anything really in January. We're, notoriously, we very, very slow in January, especially under Moyes. And will Moyes be gone this month? No, like I said earlier, I don't think he's going to get sacked until the summer. I think they're going to hold on to him till the summer. I think they're going to hope and pray that he keeps us up. I don't think he's capable of doing it, but I don't think they're going to sack him until the summer. And by that time, new owners will be in place. So, that's my suggestion.
How about yourself, Steve?
Lack of signings in January. I never thought we would make any signings because I thought Moyes would be gone and Sullivan wouldn't want to pay for both. The fact that we got Ings surprised me, and I'm happy we got Ings. He's a proven goal scorer, and boy, do we need to score some goals. Will Moyes be gone by the end of the month? Moyes should have been gone 3 months ago. Nick made very good points on our upcoming fixtures. We got Newcastle, Chelsea, and Spurs. I was listening to another channel the other day and said, we can get 4 points out of that. I'll be happy with 4 points. I'm thinking I'd be happy with 2. We are going to get pasted on Saturday. We're then going to have Chelsea at home. We do quite well against Chelsea for some unknown reason.
I think Chelsea's winnable.
Yeah, I think Chelsea is. Spurs away, who knows? We're up against Spurs. We always get up for Spurs. Will Moyes be gone this month? He should have gone he should have gone before the Everton game, but he certainly should have gone after it, regardless of whether he won or not. Allegedly, and I read this on Claret and Hugh, good place, it's where everything gets leaked, isn't it? That Moyes has now been told his time's up. It's results based. Well, okay. Going forward, it's results based. Are you actually capable of looking what the results have been? For the last year. If it's results based, he goes. It's just a bit of common sense. Lack of signings in January, I would have loved a couple of good fullbacks. Was never going to happen. Will Moyes be gone this month? I sincerely hope so, but I just don't know. I've got no idea. It's very hard to understand. You can't work out what Sullivan's thinking because it doesn't follow a logical, rational thought pattern. As Nick said, it's game by game.
How about yourself, Charlie? What are your thoughts?
Thoughts on January signings? I find it really hard to get annoyed or worked up or angry about January signings. I've never expected us to sign anyone, to be honest. So Danny Ings is quite a nice, pleasant surprise, to be honest. And as Gates has probably seen in a lot of chats, I'm quite positive on Danny Ings compared to most other people. I think it's a very good signing. I think it's a very astute signing for our situation and our potential situation, whatever that may be next season. So probably the only person that's ever going to say this about West Ham's January, but pleasantly surprised, given where I thought it was going to be when the January started. In terms of Moyes, I agree with what Nick and Steve were saying about the ball. Well, no, I guess I don't agree, but I get what Nick and Steve are saying about it's not predictable about what the ball do about Moyes, and they don't seem to follow any logic. I disagree. I think they follow their own logic that they've followed for the last decade. And you'll know this, Gatesy, when in other chats and when we've met on the boats, I've predicted that it will stay every time that he stayed. And the Everton one was the only one that I turned around and said, yeah, I think he might go now, but I think he'll win it. I think going forward for the next 3 games, I think he'll get something. I think he'll get something out of 1 or 2 of those games, and I think he'll stick around. And like Budgie said, I think he'll be around at the end of the season, to be honest. I don't think he should be. I don't think he should be there now, but...
No, I don't think he should be.
I think I don't think it's a foregone conclusion, like I've seen in the chat, that we lose the next 3 games heavily. I don't even think it's a foregone conclusion we lose heavily or lose at all at Newcastle, to be honest.
Do you know how many top half teams we've beat in the league in the last year?
Probably none. One,
None.
two. Yeah, it doesn't
None.
surprise me.
We've beat none.
But I still don't think
really
it's a foregone conclusion that we lose against Newcastle. We could easily get a draw against Newcastle and Chelsea.
You could,
and that would keep David Moyes in the job. That would definitely keep David Moyes in the job.
Irrelevant where it keeps him in a job or not. We're still screwed because then I
agree with that, but I'm answering the question.
Yeah, because the other thing that we're all forgetting about is you get February out of the way, which is a bastard. If you manage to get a point or two from that, you're all happy. We're still in that relegation dogfight. And this is what I mean where they don't apply logic. There's no forward thinking. There's nothing like that because our competitors that are down at bottom of the league, do you know what they haven't got to cope with come March? Thursday, Sunday football.
Yeah.
In the Europa League. That is going to hamstring us even more.
Europe.
Yes. So I'm like I say, I'm desperate for us to not go down. I am. If we're not going to get rid of Moyes, I fucking hope he proves me wrong. But he's done nothing in the last year to make me think that he can. So I hope he does prove me wrong.
Fair. Right. We're coming close to the end. This is always going to be, as far as I'm concerned, we're always going to try and aim for an hour, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure there's plenty of questions that you've got. You go to, as far as that's concerned, if you go on to our YouTube page, you've got the community tab there. I'll put something up at the conclusion of this show for the show that follows it, whether it's next week, the week after, whatever. If you want to get your questions in for the next show, get it there. And that was what Mickey did earlier. You saw Mickey's question that come up. That's how Mickey got his question in ahead of the queue. So get stuck into that between now and the next show. We're going to finish with something a little bit more of a light-hearted question, this one.
Thank God.
I think
Pixar can't take it.
Put your hat out on Nick.
I'm very pleased at this contribution because it's someone whose work I greatly appreciate and respect. So here we go.
Hello, you wonderful people. Hope everyone is well. I have two very simple questions for you tonight. The first is, if you were given control of the naming rights of the London Stadium, would you choose to rename the ground? And if so, what would you call it? Apart from the very obvious, Craig Dawson Arena. And the second question is, if you were allowed one change on the non-footballing side of West Ham, what would you change? Change the badge? Change our kits? The media team? The size of the hot dogs? The shirt sponsors that always end up going bankrupt? A cheaper match day experience? Bringing back world-class halftime entertainment, such as Beat the Batak? What would be your priority?
Over to you, Steve.
Oh, goodness. What would I name the London Stadium?
Well, would you take control of the naming rights first of all? And if so, what would you call it?
Well, you can't lose by taking control of the naming rights. I mean, $500,000 was invested a few years back for the LLDC to find a name for the London Stadium, and they came up with nothing. So, $500,000 wasted. What would I name it? Oh, goodness, only knows. The Hope Dies Here Stadium, something like that. Or Beware All Who Enter.
Yeah. There's a good suggestion. But that won't pay, will it?
No, it won't. I mean, you'd have to get sponsorship, wouldn't you? But yeah, the Bobby Moore Stadium would be terrific. So if I could do anything at all, it'd be the Bobby Moore Stadium. Yeah, fair. I'll go with that. What would I change? I think I would give people complimentary antidepressants after the match. Or tranquilizers. I mean,
you don't need those. The football puts us to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, there is that.
It's easier just to ban the sale of gin after the game.
Yeah. I mean, Gatesy and Charlie know me, and I'm not easily wound up or annoyed by anything, but there's been a few times, hasn't there, Gatesy? I've come out of that stadium spitting feathers, and it is really difficult to make me that annoyed over a game of football. But I have been furious. So, yeah, I think for me, complimentary antidepressants with every season ticket, and they would be away. Those are my answers.
Charlie?
Take control of the naming rights. no one seems to want them, so probably not. Just until we own the stadium, we don't really get anything out of it. That sounds like a mayor's problem. Let him have it. Might give him another reason to give us a stadium for nothing. In terms of what I'd call it, the Dildo Brothers Arena or something like that. I don't know. That'd attract some sponsors, wouldn't it?
240-volt rope starter arena.
Yeah, something like that. And then I'm going to be greedy. I've got 3 off the field changes, 2 stupid ones and a serious one. First, get rid of, as West Ham Click said, get rid of that Batak shit and never want to see that thing again. The best thing about Kurt Zuma booting a cat was the fact that Kissimmee dropped us and we never saw that beat the Batak crap again. So that's the first one. I've forgotten what the
You're
second
just
one was
bitter
going to
because
be.
they
now.
never pulled you out of the crowd. That's all your problem is.
Yeah, that was it. Oh yeah, second one was inspired by the chat. Anything that says Academy Football, tear it up, burn it, get rid of it. The Academy Football died 20 odd years ago. Let's not pretend it's still going. And then a serious one, probably not very popular, I don't know. Bring in someone above Mark Noble. Put Mark Noble as... It's difficult to do retrospectively, I get it. But put Mark Noble as assistant sporting director or whatever, and bring in a serious sporting director who's done it for the last 10 years with all the contacts, with all the know-how of how to run a fucking football club properly. Get rid of Karen Brady and let's start running this football club like an actual football club again and not an absolute fucking circus.
Budgie, your thoughts?
Would I take the naming rights? Yeah, I expect I would. And, obviously the Bobby Moore Stadium would sound nice. But I think the West Ham Stadium would probably be more attractive to more people. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. But, I think probably call it the West Ham Stadium. I know it's in Stratford, but club name, etc. And things that I would change off the pitch. Well, other than the obvious, I think I would probably be in favour of a complete takeover by Americans, or providing they kept the game as the game is, and not try to Americanise the game. As long as the game of football stays as the game of football, I would just like a complete takeover. I don't care who it is, to be fair. It could be the Vietnamese for all I care, and really it could be anyone, or the North Koreans, South Koreans, doesn't matter to me. But the only other thing that I would probably change is, the fact that the stadium isn't fit for purpose. So, try and make it more fit for purpose.
Fair. And you were the first one out of the gate, Nick, and I'm going to give you the honour of being the last one home. So talk to me.
Mickey Smith just stole my thunder. Name it, yeah. I actually would.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah, definitely.
If nothing else, just to listen to a couple of the dirty old gits that used to stand next to us going, "Whoa, what I couldn't do with a couple of them." But no, do you know what? That was all part of the old West Ham, and the thing is, those girls they used to get paid for that and everything else. So why not bring that back in the same format as well? I'm not talking about Americanizing it, in the same sort of thing. The arena. Renaming rights, the David Moyes Red Bullshit Arena. I think that'd be a good one.
That'd be a good one. Yep.
That'd be good. In terms of the other changes, the badge. Fuck that badge off. Get London off of it. And bring back the old badge and bring back all the old Upton Park-esque street vendors. If you can get the original ones, even better. Get rid of all that Ponzi shit outside because we don't want to eat none of that. And make it feel, bring back the scarf stalls and stuff like that. Make it that might help. That might help the experience. Yeah. Make it feel a little bit warmer. So yeah, that'd be
great.
That'd be my changes. Yeah,
I think that's a fine note on which to end this stream. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for your time. Nick, hang on. No, that's the wrong button. Nick, if you want to just give your channel just a quick shout out for anyone that hasn't sort of like given you guys a sub, and if you haven't, why the hell not?
Well, I doubt they will after tonight. My name's Nick. I'm from Claret and Booze. So yeah, pop over and have a look if you're bored. We do daily rambles and we do weekend live shows, similar sort of format to Gatesy. So yeah, come and have a look.
Fair, thanks, Nick. And another YouTube channel founder, Budgie, give yours a little bit of a plug, mate.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, Budgie from Greenstreet Elites. It's been a little bit quiet on the channel just of late, but some new interviews and stuff coming up real soon. So keep an eye out for them.
Fair. And then we'll get the two that don't have YouTube channels to promote. But you want to say your goodbyes to the people out there, Steve?
Yeah, thanks for listening for me ramble on for an hour. And if you stuck with it to the end, you're obviously far braver than I am. And chuck a like on the stream. Does Gatesy and Duke no end of good. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, buddy. And last but not least, only down the road from me, Charlie. And you're on mute. You're still on mute.
There we go. Now you're not going to hear me. Too many mute buttons. One on the PC, one on the microphone. No, just saying it's been fun. Enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again. And yeah, hopefully it's not all doom and gloom for the next 6 months or whatever we've got left this season. And maybe even a trophy to come. Why not?
You never know.
And leave in the comments that Duke's a bottom job.
Guys, please don't forget to like, comment on and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter, and please don't forget to put your support towards the Iron Supporting Food Bank. I'm going to press the promo in a moment. Come on, you Irons, on to Newcastle. Stay safe, guys.
Yeah.
Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.